right, we're back again, and I'm back again with my good friend Mel. It's been good to see the enormous amount of comments that we're getting at the bottom. Well done. You're looking at the material, you're digesting it, you're remonstrating about it, you're not always accepting it, and this is what we wanted to see. This is where the discussion happens, this is where the debate happens, and this is where the conversation needs to go. It's because of you people and looking at this new material. This is new material. It is controversial. It is, in some case, confrontational. We understand that. We're the first to actually introduce an awful lot of what we're talking about. We've now introduced who we think Muhammad is. We now introduce where we think Mecca is. We pretty well are introducing a whole new Islam, not the 9th and 10th century Islam, but one that actually exists in the 7th and 8th century. And that's why it is causing an awful lot of backlash. And we're getting people who are upset, others that are happy, some who are just in between, people who are just curious. Well done for coming on board with us. Well done for digesting it, and better yet, for those who are actually introducing us to some new material that we didn't even know. Now, Mel has been on for the last 2 or 3 weeks. We've had Murad on, and it's been terrific to get both their expertise, but now we're moving to someone that is new, a new individual that we want to introduce you. And to do that, I want to bring Mel on board. Mel, are you there?
Yeah, great to be back, Jay.
So, well, this is someone that you know, this is someone that you have been working with, this is someone that has an enormous amount of experience. Go ahead and give us some background to him, and then introduce him to the rest of us.
Yeah, so Joe has been on my channel recently. He's a guy who has been studying Islam for the last 20 years. He's super knowledgeable, particularly on the historical narratives from the 7th and 8th century. And yeah, maybe perhaps Joe would like to introduce more.
Hi, thank you very much. That's a bit too much of an introduction. Well, yes, thank you. I work, I suppose I work most of the time on wikinoah.org, which is one of the things.
Say that one more time. What's this? Slow down. What are you saying? Wiki what?
Wikinoah. As Wiki, W-I-K-I, Noah, as in Noah and his ark, N-O-A-H.org, wikinoah.org.
Okay.
I'm one of the co-founders of wikinoah.org. It's a project run by actually the nascent Sanhedrin project in Jerusalem, and it's for original research on instances of commonality between Judaism and other religions. So we encourage original research in this on this website. It's like a Wikipedia wiki, but we love original research. That's what we want. We want original research and new ideas on explanations of instances of sort of commonality between Judaism and other religions. And we don't want the explanation, it's just a coincidence. we want theological, sort of philosophical discussions, historical discussions, research and things like that. And so we have this project which is going on right now, which is Islam's Origins. I'd like to invite everybody to come to look at that as well and get involved in that if you've got something to add to. And so that's the project, that's the website which I'm involved in most of the time.
Well, Joe, it's great to have you on board. It's great to have you with us. I'm kind of finally to meet you. I've heard about you. Mel's been talking about you. I think what Mel and I would like to do this this evening now, for especially, is to have you go and open up this real hornet's nest concerning the name Muhammad. We know that Muhammad, according to the traditions, is the prophet, and that he is introduced certainly 4 times we find him written in the Quran. We know that he was introduced by Abdul Malik, possibly as a person, or it could be nothing more than a title, on the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem, also on the coins in 692, and then also on the Caliphal protocols the same year. So certainly this person or this title named Muhammad is significant to Islam. It is their prophet, and it is from he that everything is settled and is supported by. So you're saying, however, that Muhammad may be something else, and you have a whole nother paradigm, an entirely different narrative about Muhammad that comes from your research. And you do, as you said, you're a researcher. This is what you're doing, and you spent 20 years in this area. Listen, we'd love to know what you found out. Go ahead and share with us and introduce us to this. Let's see, who is it you've come up with concerning this either person or this title or this individual Muhammad?
Okay, well, thank you. So, first of all, I think it's important to distinguish the period of time we're talking about in the 7th century and the early 8th century, especially 7th century. We're really talking about not Islam, but what I call Proto-Islam. Proto-Islam is meaning the religion out of which Islam grew. Islam was really invented probably by Abdul Malik and people after him, the Abbasids especially. But there was were some religions, plural, which amalgamated or fixed it together somehow to create Islam. But there are certain key points which come from one or two of those religions, which we're going to call Proto-Islam. And so that would be, for example, why did they choose the name Isa instead of Yesuah? Why did they choose the name Yaxya instead of Yohanna for Jesus and John? And this word Mahmed, what does that mean? I mean, it's there pretty early on. We have this reference to the Tayyid, the Mahmet, being mentioned there by Thomas the Presbyter, very, very early on. But did it have the same meaning in Proto-Islam as it does in modern Islam? And there's no way that it could. There's no way that it could have the same meaning. But we've got to look at some original sources to understand where this word came from and how did it come to be applied to somebody who I think by the way, I just want to sort of reiterate that there was this identification that Mel made of possibly the historical Muhammad being Ibn Qabisa. And I think that's spot on for many, many reasons. I think it's a spot of genius and should be developed. But how did he, Ibn Qabisa, whose name is Ilyas, how did Ilyas come to become known as Muhammad? And that's a lot of stories. So the first thing I think we got to look at is of the Quran, or the Quranic materials, the materials which become the Quran. We call them Quranic materials. In the Quranic materials, it makes mention to this Mahmed person or Mahmed thing, and it also mentions that it has come to confirm and sort of back up the previous scriptures, the Bible, the books of God, Kutub Allah, in the Bible. That's the Injil, the Evangelion, the Gospels, and the Torah, the Old Testament, the Old Testament Torah, and the prophets. So if it's confirming these books, as it says it does again and again, and we throw out, of course, all the tafsir which comes later trying to say that these books were abrogated somehow, but from the Quranic materials it says it's confirming these books. So the best idea we can get for anything that the Quran is talking about is from those books itself. So when it talks about Mahmed, as if everybody knows what Mahmed is, we should probably try and find out what that might be from the Hebrew scriptures. That's the starting point of where we go. So from the Hebrew scriptures, well, you're not going to find the prophet of the Arabian prophet Muhammad mentioned in the Bible, but you are going to find references. You're going to find the Hebrew word, which is cognate with the Arabic word Muhammad in the Bible, Mahmed. And I'll show you that. Well, I'll share the screen here. I've got a little reference here from Bible Hub where I can show you that. So I'll just share the screen.
So now we're going to Mahmet. So this is a Hebrew word, and we do know it's in Song of Solomon 5:16. This is one that Ahmadiyyat gave in an argument. This is an argument that I've heard from many Muslims, stipulating that if you want to find Muhammad in the Bible, you need to go to Song of Solomon 5:16, the word Mahmed, the glorious one, and there it is. Okay, you've got it up on the screen.
Yeah, so that's taken from, that's the Strong's reference number, the Strong's Hebrew 4261. It's taken from the Songs chapter 5:16, as you say it. You can see there, and it says Muhamaddim. I don't know if you can see my mouse going across the screen there.
Yeah, we can. Yes, we can. Yeah.
Muhamaddim. This is a plural form, Muhamaddim, and you've got down here other occurrences of the same word with different grammatical contexts. And you can see here, I'm pointing at one, it says Mahmed, 5 occurrences. And I've actually already opened up those for you. So Mahmed, 5 occurrences. I'm showing you the bottom 4 here, which are from Ezekiel. But actually, let's just talk about this Muhammaddim first in the Song of Songs. I mean, that's a reference to the bridegroom of Israel. Israel is the bride, and this is the bridegroom of Israel. And I suppose you know who the bridegroom of Israel is, right?
Well, yes, but hold on a minute.
From a Jewish point of view.
Well, what's it from a Jewish point of view?
The Lord.
Okay.
The Lord
No.
is the bridegroom of Israel.
Okay.
You know
well,
the
that's
word
same.
for that in Hebrew?
That's
correct,
why
yes.
you're asking, because you cannot speak it. Let me speak it for you. Adonai. Okay, let's do it.
Oh, yeah.
Before you get to
that
Adonai,
word is that
Go
word
ahead.
is that's the bridegroom of Israel. That's what this Song of Solomon refers to here, Muhamaddim. That's who it is. Okay, it doesn't refer to any Arabic prophet.
Oh,
it
dear.
refers to the Lord.
And hold on a minute.
Okay.
Hold on a minute. I want to
Yeah.
back you up on this. So you're saying Adonai is what this is referring to. Muhamaddim
Yeah.
is there. Are you telling me that Adonai and Muhammadin are also plural?
Yeah, Muhammaddim and the other word is that's also plural. They're both a minimum of three. They refer to three. The
Wait a
singular
minute.
form.
A minimum of three. So this cannot be dual.
Yeah.
This cannot be singular.
No.
You're saying three or more. Well, there's the Trinity right there.
Yeah. Okay. That word, singular form, would be Adoni, which means my Lord. So we have this concept of something called birur nitzatzot, or birur nitzatzim, which means gathering the sparks, the holy sparks which have spread throughout the world. And so our project at Wikinoa is to gather the sparks, the holy sparks together, to bring us all together. You know, you're going to love some references. There's actually a phrase. I'll actually say a Shema for you, because it's evening time. I should say the Shema anyway. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. These three are one. That's what it says in the Kabbalah. Okay, so
that's Deuteronomy 6:4.
You know it.
Of course we do. But I'm
these three are one.
glad to hear you say that. I've never heard you say that in public. Are you the first? Are we seeing history made here, Mel, by you actually coming on board and actually admitting?
This is breaking news.
There are plenty who admit this. They wouldn't say that that Jesus was part of that Trinity. Or these three are one. They wouldn't say that at all. But these three are one. This is acceptable. This is acceptable point.
And I hear what you're saying. All you're doing is you're following the evidence where it takes you, and that's what you do on this Wikinoa. You're not sitting there to interpret it. You're just putting it out there. You're letting us come to our conclusions on it. And listen, we're going to sit there and come to conclusions, but I'm also excited because Muslims are going to have to deal with this now, because Muslims always take me back to Song of Solomon 5:16, and they say this is categorical, this is referring to our Prophet Muhammad, when in reality, this has nothing to do with Muhammad. This is actually to do with God. And it's not just any God. It's not a God who is one as a monad. It's actually God who is one in three. And it's the same God that we see in Deuteronomy 6:4. It just gets better and better and better.
Well, you're going to find the next part even more interesting, perhaps, because as we look at this word Mahmed, 5 occurrences in the next part here, which I opened up here. This is from Ezekiel 24:16, Ezekiel 24:21, and Ezekiel 24:25, and Hosea 9:6. And these are prophecies. The word Mahmed is used, specifically Mahmed. And it's you know the story of Ezekiel. Ezekiel's wife was killed. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
So he says, I'm about to take away from you the desire of your eyes. God says to Ezekiel, and his wife is taken away. He kills his wife, dies, and he says, like that, so will the desire of Israel be taken away from their eyes. The pride of their eyes will be destroyed. And it's talking about the temple of Jerusalem, which is destroyed, and also the treasures of the temple they were sort of stolen, and all the treasures of silver and the gold and everything was taken out of the temple, and it was ransacked, and then it was trampled by the Gentiles for a period of time. So this is Mahmed again, referring in this case one of the three instances, or one of the three Mahmaddim, if you like, refers to the temple of God, the appearance of it. And this is how this word came into Proto-Islam. Now, Proto-Islam is really what Gnostic kind of Christianity is. Very important. It's kind of a mixture of Gnostic Christianity and Judaism. But Gnostic Christianity is very important in Proto-Islam. This is where the words Isa comes from, where the word Yaxya comes from for Jesus and John. And this point here, referring to the Muhamaddim as the bridegroom, of course, in Christianity, the bridegroom is Jesus Christ. There is actually a reference to that. I've got the reference, I put it down here. Matthew 9:15 and Mark 2:19-20 are the two cases where Jesus is referred to as the bridegroom. So that makes the Song of Solomon, Song of Songs, Muhamaddim, referred to Jesus Christ from the Gnostic Christian point of view. And the Gnostic Christians have got a view of Jesus Christ, which is different from others, in that Jesus has three identities in Gnostic Christianity. Those three identities being the luminous spirit, okay, the luminous spirit, the crucified appearance, and the I believe it's messianic role, the role of the Messiah. So
Can I jump in?
Yeah.
This sounds very like Manichaeism, and
It exactly is
Manichaeism,
Manichaeism. Yes.
and it came from Mesopotamia as well.
Exactly.
Mani was
This is
from
Gnostic
Mesopotamia.
Christianity. Yeah.
Another strike for the Iraqi thesis.
Absolutely, absolutely. You're spot
Just
on with
explain that, Mel.
Absolutely.
Explain what you mean by that, because not everybody know why you're bringing this up. Go ahead and explain what is it. Why is it you're bringing up this Manichaeism and Iraq into the equation?
A minute. What you're saying, I've heard connected to Mani of the religion Manichaeism. He was a guy who came from Mesopotamia, so that's another connection with the Iraqi thesis.
Exactly.
And what's interesting about him is that he was given the title Seal of the Prophets, so there's a similarity with Muhammad. He also was said to have been visited by the angel Jibril, the exact term, when he was 12. So it sounds to me like that a lot of the mythology around Muhammad was brought in from this Manichaean connection. But the interesting thing is he used that tripartite description of Christ that you just mentioned.
Yeah, he did indeed, exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's exactly the luminous spirit, that Jesus, the Messiah, the messenger, and I think that the word is patibilis, Jesus, the suffering appearance, the suffering one. So that's quite interesting because so this would be the Muhamaddim. This would be the three from the Christian point of view. Of course, the Lord is Jesus Christ. So so the Muhammaddim would be Jesus, but one of the Muhammads in Jesus, in the Gnostic Jesus, would be the suffering appearance, which is why we have reference in the Qur'an when it says that, so what if he died, was slain? Are you going to turn on your heels? And it's reference to Mahmet. What if he dies or is slain? Are you going to turn on your heels? At the same time, it says concerning the Rasul, the messenger, Messiah, they didn't crucify him, neither did they kill him, but it was his appearance, that they killed. It appeared to them so. Which is again saying, so they crucified his appearance, the patibilis, if you like, from the Manichaean point of view. They crucified the suffering's appearance, but they didn't crucify the Messiah, because the Messiah is the Ahmed which Jesus gave to his disciples the night beforehand in the form of the bread and wine. He says, "This is my body. Here, I'm giving it up for you." So that wasn't even on the cross. What was on the cross was the luminous spirit and the appearance. But the Messiah had already been given to the church, if you like, beforehand. So the Messiah continues the work from the Gnostic point of view. This is obviously not Christianity as we know it, but from the Gnostic point of view, the body of Christ, the church, continues the work of the Messiah until they're reunited again at the end of time.
So, Joe, what you're doing, and it's fascinating because I see what both you and Mel have found. Here you have, even in chapter 4, verse 157, which you're quoting right now on this reference, this is another suggestion. This is another side post, you might say, of this influence, this Gnostic influence on the Quran as well. And that's why this Manichaean background, this Gnostic background, which, fascinating, as Mel's pointing out, these Manichaeans are way up north. They're way up in places like Kufa and in Baghdad, in that area, which is hundreds of miles away, far too far away. But that's probably where the Quran was then introduced. We're saying this, Joe, because we're also finding out that the Quran probably was put together up there as well. But listen, Joe, this is all so exciting, and there's an awful lot of material. And I see now we've only done one of the 4 that you want to get to. Could you now just kind of wrap up and give us a quick overview of what you just said? Give us a synopsis of what you said, and give us a significance of why this is important. And then what we'll do is we'll close out this episode, and we'll come back and do the other ones in future episodes. So go ahead, over to you, Joe.
Okay, so I was saying that this word Mahmed the Qur'an, having a reference, the way it's used, it's like everybody knows what it's being referred to. So from the Gnostic Christian point of view, it has to be referring to Jesus Christ, or one of his aspects, one of his three aspects. From the Gnostic Christian point of view, he has three identities. And those three identities are together mentioned in Song of Solomon 5:16 as the Lord, which is the Christian God, Muhamaddim being these three aspects of Jesus Christ, the Bridegroom of Israel. That minimum three that this Muhammaddim refers to reiterate the point, is that Rasul, word, and spirit. The meaning, the from a Manikin point of view, the Rasul being the Messiah Jesus, the word being the suffering crucified Jesus, and the spirit being the luminous spirit, the guide. So that's the Muhammaddim. But when the Quran talks about Muhammad singular, it's talking mostly about this crucified word. That's the one which was crucified, the one which was killed. And it seems like the reference to a plural Muhammad has been taken out of it must have been there in the original Gnostic Christian materials, which became the Quran, but it didn't make it to the final cut. And so we've got a kind of a redacted, chopped up version which hasn't been making full reference. But if you take it at its word, if you take the Quran at its word when it says it's come to confirm the previous scriptures, and then just go and look through the previous scriptures to try and find the references, not with the tafsir of Islam in your head, but trying to look at it from a 7th century point of view of people who are familiar with the word Muhammad. What would it mean? Then it means Muhammad, it means the Lord, and it cannot mean a human being. From a Gnostic Christian point of view, cannot mean, think of the word, he was Rasulullah, Kalimatullah, wa Ruh Manhu. He is not described as being a human. They say he was the son of Mary, because they're emphasizing that this divinity was born of Mary, unlike certain adoptionist Christians who believed that it was a man who was born of Mary, and then at the baptism he received the Holy Spirit and was adopted by God. They're saying, no, he was not adopted. He doesn't have to adopt a son. There's no need for him to adopt a son. Everything belongs to him. But he was born of Mary. And these words have been completely taken out of context, out of the Gnostic Christian context. Anyway, so that's the point of this point. But there's, as we said, a few more things to talk about. So,
okay, we're going to do that. Go ahead and unshare your screen there, and then we'll just get the three of us back together again, and we'll end off this section, and then we'll go ahead and start the next one.
Okay. Yeah.
So, listen, this has been terrific, Joe. Thanks, Mel, for bringing Joe on board. Looks surprising you say what he says. It's great to have you actually support what we've been always assuming, what we always knew to be the case.
I don't think there's anyone who would deny the plurality and the unity of the Godhead. As long as they've been studying Kabbalah, I mean, we know we've got the 10 Sephirot, for example. This is all one God.
Boy,
so
I'd like you to come down to the speaker's corner and set someone straight there, because they would never accept what you just said. We don't have many
need to study Kabbalah then.
We don't have many
You're not allowed to
Kabbalahs.
study this until you reach the age of 40 anyway. So that's why a lot of younger might not necessarily be interested in.
Are you over 40? Are you over 40?
Obviously.
I would never thought so. Your voice is very, I don't know who you are. I've never met you, and I don't see your vision. So you don't look like you're over 40.
Effect that studying the Jewish theology has on you, it makes you younger, you see. So
well, you sound younger. You do a good job. Listen, it's been terrific to have you on board. We're going to be doing more of these with you. This has been great. Thanks, because Jerry. Not only are you unpacking scripture, not only are you looking at it and you're seeing where the evidence goes, you're actually letting us come to our own conclusions on it.
That's the important thing. Yeah.
Mel and I do that, and so we're gonna ballyhoo it, and we're gonna run probably further than you are willing to run. We'll even recite the word for you in public when you need to do so. Thank goodness we don't have those kind of restrictions, but I understand why you have to. But listen, thanks again, Joe. I've never met you before. This is a first time. I'm excited by where you're going. You've done over 20 years of experience of working on this. You know your material. You know your stuff. Now, what we want people to do is to listen to what he's saying and respond. Down below, they respond. There's a lot of comments there. We keep it open for that reason. We want to be peer reviewed. This is the nice thing about YouTube. You get peer reviewed immediately. We don't have to wait for 6 months down the line for you to write an article. Get there, write it. You'll do it within minutes. And both Mel and Joe will be looking at it, and they will be responding to you. So go ahead, do that.
If anybody makes their comments and reviews at the end there, please, if you're Muslims, please only use 7th century sources to review what I've been talking about. Don't use this tafsir to interpret what I've been talking about. Please only use 7th century sources.
Did you hear that? That's from the mouth of Joe. I've been saying that for months. It's nice to have you, Joe, say that as well. Mel would also agree. We're not interested in the 9th and 10th century. We're only interested in the 7th century. Keep to the evidences on the ground. Now look and see what Joe did today. He actually went both to chapter 7, verse 157, chapter 61, verse 6 in the Quran. He went to your scriptures first, Muslims, and went back to where you're saying those scriptures are found. He went back to Song of Solomon 5:16, and he unpacked it, showing you what the scripture is actually saying. Please, for heaven's sakes, you might dispute with that, but then do so using Hebrew. Do so understanding that from the context of what Muhamaddim means, what Machmad means, and then also what Adonai means, and come back and tell us what you think, because this is important. Also realize what he said at the end there when he is talking about the influence of the Gnostic writers on those who are putting the Quran together. And these Gnostic writers, as Mel said, are from the places of Kufa and up north. This is not happening down in the Hijaz. This is not happening in Central Arabia. This is happening much further north, probably about 1,000 miles further north. Well, this has been fun. This has been great. We're going to have more of these. Thanks, Joe, for coming on board. Thanks, Mel, for being there. This is Mel, Joe, and Jay. Over and out.